Another Royal New Zealand Air Force flight has arrived in Port Vila carrying search and rescue equipment, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief supplies on board. It's feared the death toll in Vanuatu could rise to at least 20 after the violent magnitude 7.3 earthquake struck the South Pacific island nation on Tuesday. Lucy Thompson reports.
It's a harrowing and tireless task, and time is not on their side. Using whatever heavy machinery they can get their hands on, search and rescue teams work frantically to free those still clinging to life beneath the rubble. But workers on the ground say the death toll will inevitably rise.
We can't confidently say or confirm any additional figures at this point in time, but it's very sad and shocking news for Vanuatu, obviously.
Information is scarce, but the damage plentiful. And the full extent of it is still becoming clear. New footage continues to emerge of the moment the quake hit. And locals are slowly coming to terms with what's happened to them.
We all ran outside and then we see smoke, coming up. And when we came outside, we saw the building, it was all crushed down.
A 7-day state of emergency has been declared and a curfew remains in place to limit movement while rescue operations are underway. Port Vila's airport also remains closed, and with the main hospital damaged too, some medical services have been moved to the main military base. But after a breakdown delayed our Hercules by a day, help from New Zealand has arrived, with Defence Force staff conducting surveillance flights and dropping off aid. New Zealand crews joining Australian teams already on the ground, working to ease the ever-growing burden. It's estimated 40,000 children are in need of humanitarian relief, and over 110,000 people have been impacted, a third of the country's population. Electricity lines and communication are still badly affected, and aftershocks and the inability to contact loved ones continue to stretch already strained nerves. As queues for essential supplies grow and water and fuel stocks start to run out.
As the days go on, what we do need to see is the broader community needs and whether that sort of epicentre of destruction, whether that is just the tip of an iceberg or whether that's kind of the iceberg itself.
This is an island used to dealing with disasters, but a quake of this magnitude has hit them harder than ever.
And Lisette Raymer has just landed in Port Vila. Lisette, what have you been confronted with on landing there?
Well, instantly, Sam, it is clear just how much this has affected this community, not just the locals, but also those visiting. People are genuinely terrified and still very much in shock over what they've experienced. We're here at the airport. It is a hive of activity. You can see behind me the New Zealand Air Force flight that arrived. That was what we arrived here on, and is now being filled up with Kiwis who have been stranded here and who are desperate to get home. And they are incredibly rapid. We spoke to one man from Christchurch, Greg Beach. He had survived the earthquakes, of course, in New Zealand, and he said this one, what he experienced here in Port Vila, was even more violent, more terrifying. He was in a warehouse at the time. A lot of people were trapped underneath the goods that fell off the shelves. So a traumatizing experience for him. He leaves the island with a dislocated shoulder. He's desperate to get back to his family, to his loved ones. He hasn't been able to communicate with them much over the last couple of days because the internet and the telecommunications are still very patchy on the island. And you can see here behind me, this is what the New Zealand Defence Force has arrived on the island with stacks and stacks of emergency relief. These will be donated to those families that are in need. 40,000 children are estimated to need that emergency aid.
Lisette Raymer there in Port Vila in Vanuatu. Tēnā koe.